The time is 8:45 p.m. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Here's the news edited by Nishant Tushara and read by Tilani Pires. The headlines. The President instructs officials to celebrate the 75th Independence Day at a minimum cost. The Minister of Finance says that the foreign exchange required for transactions can now be obtained from the banks in the country. The United Nations Development Programme points out the need for the programme to bring more tourists to Sri Lanka. The Commonwealth Secretary-General plans to visit Sri Lanka next month. The Chinese government is ready to introduce a plan to export Sri Lankan fruits to the Chinese market. And on international news, China's daily COVID-19 infections peaked at over 7 million cases with over 4,000 daily deaths in hospitals. And on sports news, athletics, Betty Lempus, Kenyan road runner, banned for 5 years over doping. President Ranil Wickremesinghe instructs officials to take the necessary steps to celebrate the 75th Independence Day in a proud manner at a minimal cost. It is the responsibility of the political authority as well as the officials to pay attention to the current financial situation in the country while estimating the necessary expenses and spending them in practice. The President has also informed to reduce expenses accordingly. A pre-discussion was held at the President's house under the chairmanship of President Ranil Wickremesinghe regarding the implementation of the Independence Day celebrations proudly at minimum cost. The President requested that the people's protest regarding the money allocated for the Independence Day celebration should be paid attention to. The Minister of Finance says that the foreign exchange required for the transactions can now be obtained from banks in the country. The restrictions introduced by the financial crisis are still in place. In order to completely remove those restrictions, the country's economy must be restored. Certain groups and individuals are pressuring the government to withdraw the financial reforms that have been implemented. Minister Shehan Semasinghe says that they do not offer alternatives to it. The government also expects to present a specific estimate of state revenue next month. The United Nations Development Programme points out the need for a programme to bring more tourists to Sri Lanka. Its resident representative, Ms. Azuba Kubova, says that it should be prepared to attract tourists who spend money there. The program should be prepared so that every sector is covered. She said that since Sri Lanka is more suitable for the tourism industry, it can be implemented successfully. This news broadcast comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The Commonwealth Secretary-General, Patricia Scotland, is scheduled to arrive in Sri Lanka next week for a 5-day visit. On an invitation extended by President Ranil Wickremesinghe, Scotland will attend the island's Independence Day celebration on February 4th, according to the Commonwealth Secretariat. During her stay, Scotland is expected to engage in discussions with top state officials, including President Wickremesinghe, during her stay. The Commonwealth chief will be in Sri Lanka from February 1st to the 5th. The Chinese government today said they are ready to start a task plan to export Sri Lankan fruits, including varieties of banana, to the Chinese market. The decision was taken following a preliminary discussion held at the Department of Agrarian Services for the export of fruits grown in Sri Lanka to China. The discussion took place with the participation of the Agriculture Minister, Mahinda Amaravira. A Chinese delegation also participated at this discussion to present facts for the export of fruits to China. That ends local news for now.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
The President emphasizes the significance of expanding the opportunities available in the fields of technology education and training in the country. He expressed this view at a discussion held regarding the International Conference and Exhibition on New Digital Economy at the Presidential Secretariat. New technologies should be introduced to the industrial section of the island. The government intends to make Sri Lanka an export hub. International standard practices will be introduced to the local industries. This exhibition will introduce up-to-date technological equipment and tools in the fields of cyber systems, robotics and artificial intelligence to the industrial section. It is organized by representatives of 13 parallel ministries. That was the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya. Brush your teeth twice a day for healthy teeth and gums. Supiriviki and Kakulu, your trusted brands in oral care for many years.
Supiriviki Ayurvedic toothpaste for adults. Kakulu Ayurvedic toothpaste for kids. 9 Ayurvedic ingredients of Supiriviki will protect your teeth and strengthen your gums. Supiriviki and Kakulu, products from Siddhalepa.
And on Watch Light tonight, the Constitutional Assembly decides to call for applications from those who are eligible for independent commissions. Accordingly, members of the Election Commission, Public Service Commission, Audit Service Commission, Sri Lanka, Human Rights Commission, and Bribery or Corruption Investigation Commissions are recruited. For this, applications are invited through print media advertisements. That came to you in Watch Light. Coming up, World News. World News headlines first. China's daily COVID-19 infections peaked at over 7 million cases with over 4,000 daily deaths in hospitals. The US, Germany and Norway to send battle tanks to Ukraine. Heavy snow causes traffic jams, hundreds of airline cancellations, disruption in rail service in Japan. China's daily new COVID-19 infections reached their peak of over 7 million cases per day around December 22, 2022, while number of deaths in hospitals reached a daily peak of 4,273 on January 4, 2023. The Chinese state media quoting the latest report from the Chinese Center for Disease Control and Prevention said on Wednesday that the peak of severe illness reached nearly 10,000 cases during its highest period. At present, millions of Chinese have gone back to their homes to celebrate the Chinese New Year. Driving the current surge in smaller cities and rural areas, big cities like Beijing, Shanghai, etc. have crossed the worst phase of current wave of infections. China has passed the peak of COVID-19 patients in fever clinics, emergency rooms and with critical conditions, a National Health Commission official said previously. The United States, Germany and Norway have announced that they will send battle tanks to Ukraine in order to support the devastated nation during the ongoing conflict. The US President Joe Biden yesterday said that he would give Ukraine 31 M1 Abrams tanks, changing the administration's long-standing resistance to Kyiv's request for the highly advanced but labor-intensive machines. He said in the short and long term, the tanks would improve Ukraine's capabilities to defend its territory and achieve its strategic objectives. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz also declared that Leopard 2 tanks would be sent to Ukraine to aid Kyiv in the continuing conflict with Russia. The simultaneous declarations came after weeks of heavy pressure from some NATO members on Berlin to provide armored vehicles to Ukraine. Wide areas of Japan were covered with heavy snow yesterday, which caused traffic jams, hundreds of airline cancellations, a disruption in rail service, and at least one fatality. After wreaking havoc earlier this week in several Asian nations, an abnormally cold weather front and extreme low-pressure system began to bring snowfall and high winds to Japan on Tuesday. According to the Transport Ministry, 450 domestic flights, including those operated by Japan Airlines, were cancelled, 490 highway areas closed, and 57 countrywide train services, including a high-speed rail service, suspended. After service was halted on Tuesday, due to snow and strong winds in Kyoto, some 3,000 people were left stranded at 2 railway stations. Back to the world news headlines. China's daily COVID-19 infections peaked at over 7 million cases with over 4,000 daily deaths in hospitals. The US, Germany and Norway to send battle tanks to Ukraine. Heavy snow causes traffic jams, hundreds of airline cancellations, disruption in rail service in Japan. That ends World News.
Development News.
The Battenberg and Bloomendal areas belonging to the Port of Colombo will be developed. It is implemented under public-private partnership. The proposed investment around is $150 million. The Cabinet has approved the implementation of its first phase. That came to you in Development News.
Sports News is brought to you by
Sampath Bank. We present your future.
Sports news and athletics. The Kenyan road runner Betty Wilson Lempus has been banned for 5 years from competing after being found to have twice violated World Athletic Anti-Doping rules. Lempus is best known for smashing the Paris women's half marathon record on 5th September 2021, date that a sample she gave tested positive for the banned metabolite triamcinolone acetonide. She then falsified medical documents to explain the presence of the metabolite the Athletics Integrity Unit found in a report. The AIU said she has been disqualified from the Paris half marathon and all races since. The punishment is 2 years for the doping violation and 4 for the attempt to cover it up, but a year was subtracted from the ban owing to Lempus's admitting to doing both. That ends sports news.
Go ekakthiyana youth kat life ke change kat niyamata setna aswagena dagpuhina habe karana youth kat niyamata setna friendship ekamenna.
The all new NSB Ithru account, NSB IAM, a plan for your dream.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Google has announced a series of changes to its Android system in India after the search giant lost a major antitrust case in the country. This includes allowing users to choose their default search engine on Android. The move comes after India's Supreme Court upheld a ruling by the country's antitrust watchdog that said the company had abused its market position. That was Business News.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Go ekakthiyana youth kat life ke change kat niyamata setna aswagena dagpuhina habe karana youth kat niyamata setna friendship ekamenna.
The all new NSB Ithru account, NSB IAM, a plan for your dream.
Economic news, courtesy of... For the 5th consecutive year, LOLC is awarded People's Financial Services Brand of the Year at the 2022 Slim Kantar People's Awards. As the People's Financial Services Brand of the Year, LOLC continues to place the customer first, and this has won the hearts, minds and trust of Sri Lankans, with yet another prestigious award as proof of this lasting commitment. LOLC. Imagine the possibilities.
A project to cultivate local medicinal plants in connection with gardens will be started in the southern province. The provincial Ayurvedic department is implementing the project. Medicinal plants unique to the province that can be cultivated easily are cultivated under this plan. The aim of this is to increase the production of local medicine and boost the economy of the local people. That came to you in Economic News.
LOLC Finance is taking the power of innovation to the next level, winning 5 golds at the Technovation Awards 2022, leading the digital revolution with cutting-edge interbanking digital payments. LOLC Finance claims the overall gold award whilst also claiming an extraordinary victory in digital banking.
Weather report.
The Department of Meteorology forecasts showers at times will occur in the eastern and Uva provinces and in the Matale district. Several spells of showers are likely in the Hambantota and Polonnaruwa districts. Showers or thunder showers will occur at several places in the western and Sabaragamu provinces and in Kandy, Nuwara, Galle and Madura districts at night. That was the weather report, and now to end this news broadcast, the main points once again. The President instructs officials to celebrate the 75th Independence Day at a minimum cost. The Minister of Finance says that the foreign exchange required for transactions can now be obtained from the banks in the country. The United Nations Development Programme points out the need for a program to bring more tourists to Sri Lanka. The Commonwealth Secretary-General plans to visit Sri Lanka next month. The Chinese government is ready to introduce a plan to export Sri Lankan fruits to the Chinese market. And on international news, China's daily COVID-19 infections peaked at over 7 million cases with over 4,000 daily deaths in hospitals. And on sports news, athletics, Betty Lempus, Kenyan road runner, banned for 5 years over doping. That ends this news broadcast.